What if the greatest love story ever told wasn't love at all? What if it was obsession disguised as devotion? Today, we're diving deep into the Museum of Innocence, 2026 English Season 1, Netflix's haunting Turkish period drama based on the celebrated novel by Orhan Pamuk. This isn't just a romance, it's a psychological unraveling, a story about power, class, desire, and the dangerous beauty of longing. So grab a coffee because this 9-episode journey through 1970s Istanbul is not light. It's layered, tragic, and disturbingly intimate. The story opens in 1970s Istanbul, a time of political unrest, class tension, and cultural transformation. Military coups loom in the background, walls are painted with slogans. The country is shifting. But inside the luxurious circles of Istanbul's elite, life appears untouched. And that's where we meet Kemal. 30 years old, wealthy, Western educated, privileged. He has everything: status, money, and a beautiful fiancée named Sibel. His engagement is around the corner. His life is perfectly arranged. Until one afternoon he walks into a boutique and sees Fusun. She's 18. Distant cousin, not a blood relative, the series makes that clear immediately, but she's young, radiant, unformed, and the camera lingers on her innocence in a way that makes you uncomfortable on purpose. That moment changes everything. Kemal recognizes Fusun from childhood gatherings. She's grown up now, and he can't stop staring. He's in the shop to buy a gift for Sibel, but instead of thinking about his fiancée, he's memorizing the curve of Fusun's smile. Their first conversation is brief, polite almost, shy, but something ignites, and not equally. Kemal becomes obsessed instantly. He finds excuses to return. Small talk becomes longer conversations. His gaze lingers too long. Fusun is hesitant. She knows he's engaged. She knows the consequences. But she's also drawn to him. He represents wealth, power, glamour, a world she doesn't belong to. Soon, their secret affair begins. Despite claiming he's in love with Fusun, Kemal does nothing about it. He doesn't break up with Sibel. Instead, he proceeds with his lavish engagement party, a glittering display of wealth and status. And here's the cruelty. He invites Fusun and her family. Imagine being the secret lover, watching the man who promised you passion publicly celebrate another woman. Fusun attends, quiet, dignified, heartbroken. Kemal, meanwhile, is thrilled she's there. He wants her to witness his life, to feel his importance. He even dances with her intimately in front of everyone. The room notices, his family notices, Sibel notices, and yet Kemal sulks as if he's the victim. This is where the series makes a bold move. Kemal is not a hero. He is self-absorbed. He wants both women. He wants admiration without sacrifice. After the engagement disaster, Fusun disappears from his life. And that's when obsession fully blooms. Kemal begins spiraling. He breaks things off with Sibel eventually, but not heroically, not decisively. It's messy, damaging. Sibel is collateral damage in his romantic fantasy, yet we barely get her perspective, a deliberate narrative choice since the story is told through Kemal's unreliable voice. For nearly a decade, Kemal searches for Fusun, and when he finds her again, she's changed. She's married, older, hardened. But Kemal hasn't moved on. Instead, he begins visiting her family home under polite pretenses, night after night, year after year. And here's where the title becomes literal. Kemal starts stealing objects: a spoon she used, a hairpin, a salt shaker, even cigarette butts. Anything she touched becomes sacred. He builds a private archive of her existence, convincing himself it's devotion. But to everyone else, it's disturbing. Her family notices, they're uneasy, but Kemal's wealth and influence silence confrontation. This is obsession dressed as romance. For most of the series, Fusun is portrayed as an object, a muse, a fantasy, a projection. But in the final 2 episodes, something shifts. We finally see her perspective. She isn't just innocence. She isn't just desire. She's ambitious, frustrated, trapped by class expectations and gender limitations. The series subtly explores how women's sexual freedom is judged differently depending on class. Fusun's choices are scrutinized in ways Kemal's never are. Her marriage is complicated, her dreams feel distant, and slowly the audience begins to see the difference between Kemal's imagined love and Fusun's lived reality. There's a growing dissonance between the world inside Kemal's mind and the actual truth. But the show doesn't hit this point as sharply as it could. At times, it almost romanticizes him again. By the final episode, Kemal has spent nearly a decade orbiting Fusun's life. He visits her family home obsessively. He sits at their dinner table night after night. He steals objects. He convinces himself that patience equals devotion. But something critical happens in the last stretch of the series. Fusun begins to see him clearly. For years, Kemal believed he was the suffering lover, the tragic man waiting faithfully. But from Fusun's perspective, his presence becomes suffocating. She isn't frozen in time the way he is. She grows, she changes, she becomes more aware of the imbalance that shaped their past. Kemal, however, remains emotionally stuck in the moment he first saw her at 18. That's the tragedy. He loves a version of her that no longer exists. In the closing episodes, Fusun challenges him in subtle but powerful ways. She questions his intentions. She recognizes that he never truly chose her when it mattered. He chose comfort. He chose status. He chose Sibel until it was too late. And now he wants redemption without accountability. The emotional confrontation between them reveals the painful truth. Kemal's love has always been about possession. He collected her belongings because he couldn't control her choices. He built memories into artifacts because he couldn't accept change. And when Fusun begins asserting her independence, emotionally and socially, his illusion starts cracking. The climax is devastating. Depending on how you interpret the adaptation, Fusun's fate becomes tragic, a sudden accident that ends her life, a powerful echo of the novel's devastating conclusion. Her death is abrupt, jarring, almost cruelly understated. And here's what makes it haunting. Kemal never truly had her, not in the way he believed. He spent years trying to win her back, but the truth is, she was never an object to win. Her death freezes her in time. And in a disturbing way, that's exactly what Kemal's obsession always wanted, an unchanging version of Fusun. After Fusun's death, Kemal channels his grief into something monumental. He opens the museum. Glass cases line the walls, thousands of cigarette butts cataloged with dates, dresses she wore, earrings she lost, tiny fragments of her existence displayed like holy relics. Visitors walk through the space, and Kemal narrates it as the greatest love story ever lived. But here's the brilliance of the ending. The show never fully validates him. It leaves us in uncomfortable silence. Is this romantic or is it horrifying? Because what we're really looking at is a man who turned a woman's life into an exhibition without her consent. The museum immortalizes her, yes, but it also immortalizes his version of her, not who she truly was. In the final moments, Kemal stands alone in the museum, older, reflective, calm. He believes he has transformed pain into art. He believes he has preserved love against time. But the camera lingers not on him, but on the objects, silent, cold, detached. And that's the message. Love lives in people. Obsession lives in objects. Kemal preserved objects, not the relationship, not the woman, just artifacts of a feeling he refused to let evolve. The ending forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. Love without courage becomes regret. Devotion without equality becomes control. Memory without acceptance becomes obsession. Kemal calls it eternal love, but the series quietly asks, if love requires mutual growth, was this ever love at all? The tragedy isn't just Fusun's death. It's that Kemal never changed. Even at the end, he frames the story as epic, poetic, legendary. But what we witnessed was a man who refused to choose when it mattered, romanticized imbalance, collected a person instead of understanding her. The museum stands as both tribute and confession. It's beautiful, it's disturbing, it's hollow, and that contradiction is exactly the point. The Museum of Innocence ends not with closure, but with a question. Is it possible to love someone without trying to possess them? Kemal believes he built a monument to love. The audience may see something else entirely, a monument to ego, nostalgia, and a man who could never let go. And that's why the ending lingers long after the credits roll, because it doesn't tell you what to feel, it makes you decide. Was this the greatest love story ever told, or the most beautifully decorated obsession?